Let's go ahead and talk to Cameron next. Cameron has a really interesting question that I'm probably going to defer to Christy on.
Sure. What are we talking about, Cameron? What can we do for you tonight?
Hey, this is my first time calling, so I'm so glad I could get through.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I have started to explore like blood play recently, and apparently there's a side to it about menstruation specifically, which to me that seems like the more vanilla side of it, but still it's interesting.
I just want to take a quick moment to recognize the 90% or the large number of folks in our audience that thought, menstruation, blood play, that's the vanilla side of things. All right, let's see where this goes.
So I know it's an unusual topic.
No, I'm so glad that you brought it up with us. I'm really excited to hear the things that you've been exploring or learning about yourself.
Well, there's really not much information. Well, I've just started, but I can't find much information, at least online, about blood play. So I really wanted to call in and ask if there's like any specific safety concerns about at least menstruation anyway.
Well, firstly, blood is carrying a hell of a lot of disease vectors if you have them. So if you play around with blood, you should just be careful that you don't get things like HIV or other nasty kind of illnesses that you can get. You know how careful they are with needles in the doctor's office. They put them in a bucket and then take them away and have them incinerated. So, but if you are, if you're gonna do this, make sure that maybe if you have a partner that you're monogamous with and you've gotten tested and such for the whole range of stuff that you could carry in your blood, then there should be not so much safety concerns, I think. But if you're doing it with people that you don't know and you pick them up somewhere, and I hang around a lot of fetish clubs here in Berlin, and that's a big part of my life. But blood play is something that I would not just jump into with anyone, and without being very knowledgeable about who they are and where they've been and what their disease status is, because of course you can cause yourself quite some damage if you're not careful.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, they call it edge play for a reason. It's something that a lot of people get training to do this.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're using that word for the audience and recognizing that that's what this is. Edge play is great. It can be incredibly exhilarating and meaningful, but we use that word to describe anything that you want to be really careful with and take very seriously, or at the very minimum have like meaningful safety measures in place for. So this is not maybe something that you want to explore with the stranger that you meet at a bar. This is something that you want to be a little bit more mindful and intentional about, and reserve for these more controlled situations that you've put a little bit more time and effort into.
Yeah, and stay sober when you do it as well, so that you don't make any mistakes. But I mean, I've done a lot of like body suspensions as well with hooks and hooks through the skin, basically hanging in hooks. And the suspension teams here in Berlin, the ones that I have been having experiences with, they're extremely careful with how they work, sterile, with gloves. They have certain buckets where they put things and make sure that the skin is clean before, so that you don't introduce any sort of pathogens into the person that you might work with. And also like needle play is also one thing. Some people really like, it's not really my cup of tea, but there's a lot of people who really like it and like the beauty of it, and like pulling out the needles and see the blood flow down and such. And if you like that, just make sure that you're clean, wear gloves, treat it as you would in a doctor's office, unless you're really secure and safe.
Okay. I guess what I'm wondering is, because I've read books on like the vampire community, and I know that there's always going to be risks associated with like drawing blood and drinking and that kind of thing. But just for like menstruation, and kind of the typical acts during sex that go along with that. Like, it should be safer, or are there still risks?
Well, blood is blood. It doesn't matter if it comes out your vagina or through your arm. It's just the same thing.
That's true.
So yeah. So if for example, if you have unprotected anal sex with, which basically creates a lot of, or like damages maybe to the butthole. Well, if you get like wounds there, and then the person also has, yeah, if two women having sex and then you penetrating with a strap on or something, and one partner has the period as well, it might not be the best combination, because you have a really high risk situation where you have blood flowing and maybe some open wounds in combination. I'm just like, it was like the first situation that I came to my mind that I would think about, okay, this could be a little bit of a red warning flag. It's very rare that lesbian sex is otherwise it's much less risky, but if you're involving strap on, it could be a little bit more risky. But I mean, menstrual blood is blood. It doesn't matter where it comes out from.
Yeah.
It's still blood.
That's kind of the image I was thinking of, because I guess my idea right now is that a lot of people kind of take it for granted, that they see other people like doing it and they're like, oh, I want to do that too, and then they don't think about it.
Yeah, it goes trends in things, and then people stop thinking by themselves, and they move with the masses. I guess nobody stops and goes,
Yeah,
hey,
funny
hang
how
on
that
1
goes.
second.
Well, really, just to say, anytime we're talking about something that like pretty universally is agreed upon to fall into that category of edge play, you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is something that you want to be really mindful of. And so just recognizing that you can do whatever crazy consensual thing you want to do. If you're enjoying safe, sane, and consensual sexuality, go for it. Whatever you're enjoying is wonderful, but there are certain things that are a quick walk around the block and very safe and within your own neighborhood. You can get more and more majestic and more beautiful views by hiking down a deep canyon or up a really steep mountain. But if you were going to do so, you'd want to bring the right equipment, you'd want to have the right training, and you might even need to involve a Sherpa or a guide of some sort.
Yeah.
So, for your regular vanilla sex, have at it. Be smart, know what you're doing. Even there, you want to be mindful about the basics of STIs, about birth control, about condoms, and these different things. I'm hoping that we've done a sufficient job of acknowledging all of that material on this show. But beyond that, if you want to go on a wild adventure, just make sure you're properly prepared.
That was well put.
Okay. I have to go. My blood sugar's getting low, but I want to mention one more thing that JB brought up, and that's the trans issue, because it was actually the opposite for me. Because I talked to my doctor, and I transitioned a while back. It was, identity issues. I identify as gender fluid now, but back then I actually transitioned twice. And my doctor was under the impression that it was normal for me to have like a really bad period because I was trans.
Oh, wow. That is okay. Yeah.
It was very unusual, but it was the complete opposite of JB's experience for me. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think it just highlights something that Dr. Ann has been saying all night, which is that our medical establishment is not well prepared to handle anything. Anything other than middle-aged white guys? That might be something of an exaggeration, but how much of one is it really?
I was going to say white people with penises.
Yeah.
That's what the medical industry is tuned towards.
That's true. There's one thing also we shouldn't forget, and that is there's one thing of being reminded of your period and maybe your femininity and getting a little bit upset about that, but then there's actually and this is very, very important to remember. There's actually the medical syndrome that, of course, now I've forgotten the name of, where you basically the hormonal changes before your period will literally make you you feel you end up in a very, very dark place, and this is hormonal. This is not like, oh, I'm getting a little bit annoyed that my body is changing, but it's actually physical, hormonal. It's not like, it's not your mind doing things in that way. So I think it's important to understand that it can be like a feedback loop of you having this dysmenorrhea and this particular like syndrome where you basically get really, really, really dark before your period, and that in combination with the transition where you might get reminded of your femininity, it can worsen the whole. You get into like a weird feedback loop. But I think it's very, very important to really say, okay, it's not just in your head. It's like can be literally physical, and that is very important to underline, I think.
Hey, Cameron, I just want to say thank you again for calling in. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the calls now and move on to the interview section. But thank you again for calling and sharing your thoughts with us. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have a nice night.
You too.
Hey,
thank you.
appreciate you.